Hi, everybody. My name is Katie. I'm with USTA Florida. I am the high school and team play coordinator. Thanks so much for joining this call. So, we're just going to talk a little about planning your season for high school tennis. I just would like to introduce Dede. Dede's our guest speaker today. So, thank you for joining us, Dede, and taking the time to talk about one of your resources, which is the high school tennis checklist. So super excited to get into this. Dede has been with FHSAA and the FHSTA for some time, as she's done a lot of good work with them. She's also a USPCA and PTR rated member, and correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, Dede. And she also is involved heavily with USTA, Florida, and National. So great resource. And she's one of our mentor coaches, which is a new program that's going on. So we're super excited to have her. Dede, here we go. All right, it's on to you.
Okay, thank you. I think probably the first most important thing is to realize when tennis season starts. I get asked that a lot, so I usually have a way of getting to Corey and asking for the dates ahead of time so I can get them out. You'd be surprised how many schools don't know when they start. So it's very important because if you start before that, trouble can happen. And as far as planning the matches, they have to be into the FHSAA on a certain date. So I listed all the dates that you can do things. The preseason week, sometimes people ask about that. You're allowed to play matches that week that don't count towards the season. I think you're allowed to play 4 total, so you could have like a round robin with 3 other teams during that week, and they won't count. After that, then season starts and it's in full swing. The preseason checklist, I think a lot of coaches think they're going to get into coaching and just going to go out on the court and teach tennis, which is true to a point. But there are a lot of rules in between. Corey will go over in October, he'll go over all of the detailed version of the FHSA rules. But there's a lot of stuff that you have to get into. And this is a little difficult to read. So let's go to the next slide and I'll go over some more, a little bit in more detail. And I think the first thing, meet with your athletic director. If you've been at your school for a long time or even a couple of years, you probably have already met with your AD and you've come up with some ideas of how school would like it run, how you would like to run it. There's other requirements that you have to do. Make sure that your athletic directors will send out in either preseason or actually I did mine last week, online requirements that you have to take for the FHSA before you're allowed to coach. You want to check with your school district if they have any rules and regulations. Some areas, I know Jacksonville area, the Duval County schools have a conference. So a lot of times they'll schedule their own matches and then we have to schedule in between if we want to do it. They'll have different requirements. Some will have another conference, St. Johns County, which is St. Augustine area, will have a different set of rules. They can't supersede the FHSA rules, but they can maybe add requirements. Scheduling matches and practices. When I scheduled, what I did when I was coaching college, I scheduled, skipped down to the third rule. Make sure when you schedule your 18 matches that you're allowed, that you think about, I want to have a match where I know that I can build some confidence in the kids and the confidence in the team, and maybe schedule some matches that are fairly easy at the beginning of the season so they can build up what they need to do. As far as then the next third, schedule matches that you could win or lose, but they're going to learn from it. They're going to learn how to lose. They're going to learn why they lost. They're going to learn what they need to work on, and schedule some matches that might get your clock cleaned, but it would be good development so they can actually analyze what they need to do. As far as facilities, there are a lot of schools that unfortunately don't have access to tennis courts. If there's a teaching pro around, a club around, ask the teaching pro if maybe you can work out a deal with the club that you can not pay an arm and a leg, but get a cooperative deal with a club in that area. Parks and rec, some schools are right near a park. Maybe you could work out a time with the parks or with the city, county, whatever you have in your area, that you can use the facility certain hours of the day at a very reasonable fee, I would hope. Some of the local pros, actually, if you're a brand new coach, they might help you out. You just want to sort of see if you can work out a working relationship with them and see if you can do anything for them. Maybe have your kids take lessons from them during the off season, since we're not allowed to do things during the off season as far as coaching. So try to find out who in your area would be a good mentor. And now that the USTA has a mentoring program, um, there will be some of us out there that would be happy to help you. Um, if you are running a no-cut program, I hope you have a lot of patience. But what you need to do is register with USTA, make sure that you have a no-cut program, and basically that is whoever comes to try out stays on the team. And you have to work a different schedule. I do with I have a cut policy on my varsity team, but we also have JV teams and middle school teams. So we have a feeder program up to varsity. So that's how I work it. Other schools work it different ways. There's some schools up in the Midwest that have 100 kids on their no-cut program. I am not sure how they do that, but they do it and they do it successfully. But maybe they might do it if they have a spring season, they might do something in the fall for their other team. Team setup communication is huge. Try to find a time. If you're new there, you really need to meet again with your athletic director, but you need to find out all the kids and the parents. Have a team meeting with the parents and the kids and figure out what you have to offer them and what they can offer you as far as support. Um, I've been at Episcopal way too long, so I set up a newsletter. I do a couple during the fall and get some basic information out to them, and then during the season I do a newsletter a week, and it usually goes out on Sunday. It explains what happened the previous week, what our schedule is for the next week, and this includes we have 5 teams. We have boys and girls varsity, boys and girls JV, and middle school team. Um, so I have a lot of information to get out to all the levels of the players. So that works well for me. It might not work for you, uh, but try to figure out a way that you can communicate with them. Things you need to know. If you're new to coaching, kind of figure out a philosophy that you have. Do you want to be like a good guy and be their buddy? Do you want to be a taskmaster drill sergeant? You want to be somewhere in between? You need to figure out what works for you, but also what works for the kids and the parents. So that's can take some soul searching. As far as, let's see, transportation. Um, a lot of schools don't let the kids drive. We do, as long as the schools, because our kids come from all over town. A lot of times we'll have a match near someone's house, and it's silly for them to take a bus, then go to the match, and then go back to school, and then go home, where they just came from. So find out how to work transportation for your away matches. Are the kids allowed to drive? Can the kids go with certain players? Are they allowed to go with other players? There's a whole bunch of information on insurance. Equipment inventory. What do you need? Tennis balls, nets, straps, you name it. There's a bunch of stuff that they just need. And the kids need, like shoes and socks. My kids are great at forgetting their shoes and socks sometimes. But I have a spare pair in my office under the desk, just in case. Make sure that you have what you need before season, because sometimes it's really hard. And now who knows, with the tariffs, if you're going to be able to get tennis balls at a reasonable cost. So I would order them now to try to take care of whatever you need. Try to guess what you're going to use or try to figure out. I've got my group down to a pretty good science as far as number of balls that I need. Fundraisers. This is fun for me because I know nothing about them. They ask if I could do some. We don't do fundraiser at my school. We're not allowed to do fundraisers. So if I'm asked to give a talk on fundraisers, I politely decline. I'm sure there's, other than car washes and selling candy bars and whatever, there's other different ways to make money for your team if your school doesn't support it. Player parent contact information. I have everybody's email, everybody's cell phone. Find out what your school policy is as far as contacting the kids or the parents via text or like a team app, band app, team share. There's a bunch of them out there. Find out what your school policy is or what your county policy is as far as contact information. Find out if they're allowed to do the texting to their players. Usually if I do a group text, and it's a group text, and I'll always copy my JV coach or one of the other coaches on it, so I'm not the only one texting the kids. Tryouts and player management. When you get the kids together, or even in your parent meeting in the fall or whatever, if you're out of Florida and you have fall season, try to find out, explain what the tryouts are all about. Explain how you're going to run the tryouts. Explain how you're going to select your team. How are the lineups going to be? Will you allow challenge matches with your kids? And how are you going to set those up? I set ours up, and my kids don't like challenge matches. So they'd rather just sort of deal with what I give them for the most part. But on a lineup, we have, when we first try out, we have them play 5 games. And they can't figure out they play 5 games. Is it first to 5 or we play 5 to 2 or whatever? No, it's 5 games total. Explain that to them because they will mess up on that one. Um, and then add the total, see how they play. You'll have some new kids that are they're all nervous. They'll be scared to death to try out. Um, for my varsity kids, I don't have them try out. I have the JV kids and a couple middle school kids that are good. I'll have them come up and try out, and we'll feed them into the varsity program. So the JV kids, I steal them and put them on the varsity team if they're good enough. So it depends on how your school situation is set up. Challenge matches, they play one challenge match, they'll play an 8-game pro set. If one person wins and they want to challenge again, they'll play another 8-game pro set. If they split, they'll play a regular match. That has never happened with me because they're usually pretty good after somebody trounces them the first time. They don't want to do it again. But you'll feel it out with the kids and see how they do. Seasonal practice schedule. We are very fortunate as we have 10 tennis courts. But I also have 5 teams, and 10 tennis courts is never enough during season. I'll have middle school will always practice 3 days a week from 4 to 5:30. Now I'll change their days Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is during the season according to the matches that we have scheduled. Varsity will practice from 4 to 5:30. JV will practice from 5:30 to 7, 2 days a week each, and then they'll flip-flop. So no one gets stuck with a late practice and no one has to rush to an early practice. Matches start at 4:15 for us because that's what time our kids can get to the courts. And the varsity and JV kids go 4 days a week. Of course, during the season, then the schedule gets all kafooey, but we try to work our best. And you need to find team parents, and the kids love their snacks and the end of season party. We've finally gotten the kids out of the habit of wanting Chick-fil-A chicken fingers or chicken nuggets and try to get something healthy. The kids can actually have some support, water, Gatorade, IV, liquid IV stuff, and healthy foods that they can do. The parents will organize that. And they might need a little nudging from some of the coaches, say, where's our food? But that'll get taken care of and they'll find out. Academic eligibility. Make sure that these kids, they can lose their eligibility in the middle of the season if their grades go down. So make sure that you stay on top of the kids for their good academics. We always check on our kids to make sure that they're okay. If they're struggling, if a player struggles and they have 2 or 3 exams in 1 week, fine, they don't have to come to practice site. To us, their education is more important. So we will let them out of practice if that's a good reason for us. And get to the kids and see if they can come up with some goals. What did they work on last year that they need to improve on for this year? What popped up that, I need to work on my serve, I need to work on my footwork, and then have them set their own goals and then have them get together and set a team goal. And, make sure that they have attainable goals. Make something that makes sense. Their goal shouldn't be to have something that I want to win every match. Well, so does your opponent. They're going to interfere with your goal of winning every match. So find something that you're in control of when you're setting your team stuff and your individual stuff. We have first aid kit on site. And everybody should be having an AED close by to their tennis courts or the facility that they're using. Make sure that we have trainers every match, Duval County, and I don't know about the other counties. Everybody has to have a trainer. All schools have to have trainers on site during the matches. So we always have the trainer in case someone gets hurt. The other thing is, especially if you're new, Get to know not only the FHSAA rules, but make sure that you understand the USTA rules because we play high school tennis under the USTA rules, except for a couple instances where lineups are concerned and what have you. So what I did was I borrowed some questions from the USTA umpires test, and I give the kids quiz. And they think they're going to get graded on it and they're going to get a grade in tennis. No, they're not going to get a grade in tennis, but I want to know that they know the rules. It just makes sense to have them understand what's going on the court. If there's any issue that comes up in a match, hey, I know that rule. You can't do that. So that's how we work out with our kids. We have them take a test, and actually, they're pretty good at the rules. And some of the rules may surprise some of the kids.
Thank you so much, Dede. As she actually created that entire checklist, and I think it's a great resource to have before your season just to make sure that you're all prepared. So thanks again, Dede. That was fantastic. We do have some questions in the chat, which I'm very happy to see, and we'll get to that but at the end of the slideshow. But just wanted to interject here a little bit about how you can get involved and stay connected with us here at USTA Florida. So I do have an ongoing coaches email list if you'd like to sign up for any updates from USTA Florida. I'll send out some reminders as time goes on. So let me know if you'd like to be a part of the coaches email list. You could email me directly. My email is B as in boy, I, B as in victory, OLAN as in Nancy, at USTAFlorida.com. And I'll have my contact card to the side here. So you can always reach out to us if you have any questions regarding preseason or tennis season, high school season, or even just general questions about tennis. Just reach out to us and I'll get you connected with the right person. So the first question we have, Dede, is how many volunteer coaches do you think you should need for a varsity team, JV team, and a middle school team? And have you had a hard time getting help or volunteers for the season?
Good question. I actually don't have volunteer coaches. I have this, our school will pay for the coaches. I have a coach for every team. It depends on the county rules. And I think most of the time, if you're doing anything, especially the safe play or the school's version of safe play that you have to take before you become a teacher, they have to have that passed. And so you just can't go out and get Joe Blow. They have to be registered if you want the volunteer coach to actually help coach during the season. They have to be registered on home campus with FHSAA, that they're an official that they're an official assistant coach. It totally depends on private schools. It would depend on what they allow at the private schools. But in the counties, you need to check with your county athletic department to make sure that you abide by all the rules on that. I would say it totally depends on the size team you have. I have one assistant I'm the program director, so I do all of the lovely administration for all 5 teams. So I have an assistant, and she's a paid assistant. So we work out. She doesn't come all the time, but she's there most of the time. The other coaches, the other teams all have their own coach. And so we're pretty lucky as far as that goes. But make sure that you check with the county as their rules that they allow for volunteers. In the private schools, obviously check with your athletic director.
Do you keep all players on the roster regardless if they play?
Well, I am different because I have I'll have 8 kids, but my and they come out and they practice with the kids and they'll play matches. If we have some teams that aren't very strong, I try to get as many matches in for all the players on the team. As I said earlier, I only have 8, but our feeder team is JV, and we try to rotate around. For the JV, I think it's a good idea to play 5 singles, 2 doubles, and not have everybody play 2 matches, but just either play singles or doubles. At the varsity level, I don't do that. But JV, I think it's a good learning experience for the kids to be able to play a little bit of both.
Another question we have, do all schools have to offer an athletic trainer during matches?
I think, well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Duval County, which is Jacksonville area, made a rule that they have to have them. I think it kind of depends on your county and your school if they care for the kids. I'm not sure statewide how they work that though. So you need to check with your county, or if it's a private school, check with your private school.
Right. if you have any further questions, like I said, just reach out to me and I'll do my best to answer your questions as they come. And super excited to get started into the high school season. Um, I have some QR codes here. So the one on the very left is my virtual business card if you need my contact. The middle one is our USTA Florida homepage, and then the one on the right is our foundation page. So that'll give you more information on the grants that are available for high school coaches. So that's also a really great resource. Again, for joining the call. I really appreciate everyone's time today and hope this was helpful. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.